My childhood was good, but it certainly didn't come without its challenges. Grew up without a father, classic story. Had a single mother that worked her butt off to do the best she could, but there were clearly some fundamental things that I didn't get growing up that I looked to other sources in other areas and other arenas to try and fulfill that. I'm 34 years old now, and my father left when I was 2. My parents were divorced, and I saw him once when I was 8. And from that point on, he hasn't been a part of my life, and there's always been this part of me that's yearned for that father energy. I think I'm past the point of realizing that I'm a grown man and I don't need a father, but as a young man, I definitely needed a big brother or an uncle or some sort of positive reinforcement, and through playing football, my coaches became that energy for me. The male football culture was one of rah-rah and macho. I mean, tape it up and move on. You know, there was an era in football not too long ago where we didn't give kids water because they needed to make you tough. And I bought into that because there was a way that I could have a badge of courage that the tougher I was and the more that I could endure, the more respected I was. So I learned some things pretty early on that got set up in football that were pretty counterproductive as I got older. I did have one coach that was very hard on me, and he did it as a way to push me and motivate me, and I'm absolutely certain that his intentions were good. In that process, though, my confidence was broken, and that became a common theme throughout my career. And that was from a guy who thought through motivating me, he was going to make me a better player by belittling me and challenging me. And in the end, I think it just broke my confidence, and I still struggle with that. Man, I think I wanted to fit in and belong and to be a part of something bigger and special. And I got a lot of circumferential validation, you know, good play, good block, good run, good choice, good decision, good boy, Aaron. And it was from these older men that I respected and embodied, without knowing it or not, a lot of the things that I wanted as a kid growing up. So it was this perfect dynamic. On the one hand, it taught me to be really, really tough, to hang in there with adversity, to never give up, to don't quit. The flip side of that was I would hold the anchor all the way to the bottom at times. The flip side of that was there was times I was very angry and had a lot of rage inside that I didn't know how to unleash. So I did it on the field. And I'd fly downfield and I'd catch people standing around the pile and I'd knock their block off. And it felt good. But what I really wanted was somebody to say, hey man, I know you're scared or it's a lot of pressure that you're not playing the way you want right now. And that's not just when I was in high school. That was when I played in college and even as an adult in the NFL. When I kind of hit my lowest, which coincidentally was 2 years after I played in the NFL. I was 28, single, retired, no debt, no children. I was the American dream. I'm what all my neighbors wanted to be retired, financially independent, and could go play golf or hunt or fish or travel as much as I wanted. And I was miserable. I was miserable. And that's the best thing that ever happened to me, because at that point I realized there's something more. There's more to this. I had achieved all the goals that I set out to do, but there was something missing. And I went looking for it. I had to get real. I had to tell myself the truth about who it was I was. And at that age, I think at the time I realized for the first time that there's a difference between who I thought I was and who I really was. And it was like in The Wizard of Oz, man, I peeked behind the curtain and I saw the little guy with the levers back there and I went, oh my God, something's got to change. I didn't know what options there were and where else I could go, but what I found was the second that I made the conscious choice that I was willing to take a look, things just started showing up. And there has been some tremendous programs and processes that made themselves available to me. And I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine one day, and he gave me the name of the ManKind Project. And I went online, was a little skeptical, and looked at what it was. And there were some things that maybe didn't sit right, but there was also something that resonated with it. There was something that spoke to me. And the only thing that's ever rivaled my fear is my courage. And I trusted my buddy, and I said, well, if he thinks that I'll get something out of it, whether I have fun or enjoy it or get something out of it or not, it'd be worth the fear that I had about going to go to something like that. And that was the most powerful 48 hours I've ever had in my life. I left that weekend a different person, and what I was able to do through that process was take a good, hard, honest look in the mirror and to be able to identify some of the tremendous boulders that had prevented me from moving forward in my life, And in a way that was safe, in a way that I controlled, in a way that was very healthy, I was able to move some of those boulders. When you look at things like the NFL and the other kind of iconic macho male roles that I think we have in our society today, I think it gives the young guys growing up a skewed vision of what it is to be a quote-unquote man. Being a man in football means being tough and beating your opponent and winning and achieving. That's very different from giving and being a productive part of a group and a unit, that a man can be strong and tough and brave and also be sensitive and compassionate and willing to help. That's what makes a man. It's hard to say where the good men are going. I think with the pressures of society and the roles and the dynamics that are going on, I think that has created some confusion as to what a man's role is. What does it take to be a man? I think that's being redefined right now in society, just as what's the role of a mom and a woman. As adults, we're able to see what these kids can't. I didn't know what I needed as a kid, but it sure felt good when I got it. That's what we can do. We have to be proactive about going to give and create an environment, not forcing it down their throats, but just showing it to them. And if they want a piece of it and it feels good, they can have it. Give them an alternative so that they can know they can choose differently, but they don't have to. That there's a place where they can go that they can be listened to, accepted, and admired. That's what we can do.